Under the frozen sky of the Arctic Circle, where the ice whispers secrets and the aurora dances with the spirits of the past, a young girl hears a song that will change her life forever. It's not just any song, it's the desperate cry of a narwhal family, the unicorns of the sea trapped in a melting abyss, fighting to survive. Tonight, in the heart of Svalbard, Norway, Aputsiak, a 14-year-old Inuit girl, will join forces with a crew of unlikely heroes to stage a rescue that defies the odds. This is a story of courage, of connection, and of the haunting beauty of the Arctic, where every second counts, and the ice holds both life and death in its embrace. Welcome to the Midnight Whale Song. The Arctic Circle in April is a place of stark, unforgiving beauty. Picture a world where the sun barely rises, where the horizon glows with a faint, ghostly light, and the aurora borealis paints the sky in shimmering curtains of green and violet. This is Svalbard, Norway, a remote archipelago nestled between the Arctic Ocean and the Greenland Sea. The air bites at your skin, the wind howls like a pack of wolves, and the ice stretches endlessly, a frozen desert that hides life beneath its surface. But that ice, it's changing. Warmer temperatures have come to the Arctic, melting the ice faster than ever before. Beneath the surface, the creatures of the Arctic, polar bears, seals, and narwhals, face a new reality. Narwhals, often called the unicorns of the sea for their long, spiraled tusks, are particularly vulnerable. These majestic whales rely on the ice for protection from predators like orcas, and they use the cracks in the ice to breathe. But when the ice melts too fast, or worse, traps them in a deadly chasm, their survival hangs in the balance. In a small Inuit village on Svalbard's coast, 14-year-old Aputsiak listens to the wind. She's always been different, even among her own people. Her grandmother Nadja taught her the ancient songs of the Inuit, melodies said to be the voices of the sea, passed down through generations. Aputsiak has a gift. She can hear the spirits of the Arctic. Not everyone believes her. Her father, a fisherman named Kian, thinks it's just a child's imagination. Her classmates at the village school tease her, calling her the whale whisperer. But Aputsiak knows the songs are real. They guide her, comfort her, and sometimes they warn her. Tonight, as a storm brews over the Arctic Ocean, Aputsiak sits by her window, bundled in a sealskin coat, her dark eyes scanning the horizon. The aurora dances above, casting an eerie glow over the ice. She's supposed to be asleep. School starts early tomorrow, but something keeps her awake. A feeling deep in her chest, like a heartbeat that isn't hers. And then she hears it. A song, faint at first, carried by the wind. It's not a song she knows, it's haunting, mournful, and desperate. It's the cry of a narwhal in distress. Aputsiak's heart races. She knows what narwhals sound like. She's heard their clicks and whistles on her father's fishing trips. But this is different. This is a plea for help. She pulls on her boots, grabs her grandmother's bone knife, a family heirloom carved with ancient runes, and slips out into the night. The village is silent, the storm clouds gathering like a shroud over the ice. Aputsiak follows the song, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air, her small frame dwarfed by the endless expanse of snow and ice. The ice crunches beneath Aputsiak's boots as she moves carefully, her ears straining to follow the narwhal's song. The storm is growing stronger, the wind whipping snow into her face. But she presses on, guided by an instinct she can't explain. The aurora above swirls faster, its colors shifting, green, violet, and now a deep, ominous crimson. To Aputsiak, it feels like a warning. Her grandmother once told her that the aurora speaks to those who listen. Tonight it's screaming. After what feels like hours, but is really only 20 minutes, Aputsiak reaches a jagged stretch of ice near the edge of the fjord. The song is louder now, echoing across the frozen landscape like a ghostly choir. She kneels, pressing her ear to the ice, and listens. The clicks, the whistles, the mournful wails, they're unmistakable. Narwhals. But there's something else. A low rumbling sound, like the ice itself is groaning. Aputsiak's heart sinks. She knows that sound. It's the sound of ice breaking apart. She crawls forward, her gloved hands brushing the snow aside. until she reaches the edge of a massive chasm, a deep, jagged wound in the ice, stretching at least 30 feet across. The edges of the chasm are sharp, like the teeth of a giant beast, and the water below is black as ink, swirling in a deadly whirlpool. Apusiak gasps. In the center of the chasm, struggling against the current, are four narwhals, a mother, her calf, and two others. Their long, spiraled tusks glint under the aurora's light, but they're tangled in a mess of abandoned fishing nets, the ropes cutting into their skin. The mother narwhal thrashes, trying to free her calf, but the more she struggles, the tighter the nets become. The calf lets out a high-pitched cry, its small body slipping closer to the whirlpool's center. Apuchak's eyes fill with tears. She knows what's happening. The ice here has melted too quickly, likely due to the unseasonably warm temperatures Svalbard has seen lately. The melting ice has created this chasm, and the fishing nets left behind by careless trawlers are a death trap. If the narwhals can't break free, they'll either drown in the whirlpool or suffocate as the ice closes in again. Aputsiak's mind races. She's just a girl. She's not strong enough to free them alone. She tries to cut the nets with her grandmother's knife, but the ropes are too thick, and the ice is too slippery. She slips, nearly falling into the chasm herself, and catches herself just in time, her heart pounding in her chest. She looks at the narwhals, their dark eyes meeting hers, and she feels their fear as if it's her own. "I'll get help," she whispers, her voice trembling. "I promise." She pulls out the small emergency radio her father gave her, a clunky old device that barely works half the time. Her hands shake as she tunes it, the static crackling like the storm above. "Mayday, Mayday," she says, her voice small but steady. "This is Aputsiak from Kanak village. I'm at the fjord. There's a pod of narwhals trapped in the ice. They're going to die if we don't help them. Please, someone, anyone, respond." The radio crackles, and for a moment, there's nothing but static. Aputsiak's heart sinks. What if no one hears her? What if she's too late? But then, a voice cuts through the noise, gruff and accented. "This is Captain Dmitri of the Even Papanin. We're 10 miles out, heading towards Svalbard. We hear you, little one. Hold on, we're coming." Aputsiak lets out a sob of relief, clutching the radio to her chest. Help is on the way. But as the ice groans again, and the narwhal calf's cries grow weaker, she knows they're running out of time. The Ivan Papanin cuts through the Arctic Ocean like a knife, its rusted hull groaning against the waves. The icebreaker is an old beast, its Gothic design a relic of another time, its bow carved with sea monsters, its smokestacks belching black smoke into the stormy sky. Captain Dmitri stands at the helm, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of the ship's instruments. He's a man of few words, his gray eyes hardened by years at sea, but there's a kindness in him that his crew knows well. Once he led a rescue of a dog stranded on floating ice, an act that earned him quiet fame, though he'd never admit to caring about such things. Dmitri adjusts the ship's course, his hands steady on the wheel. 10 miles, he mutters to his first mate, Ivan, a burly man with a scar across his cheek. "We'll be there in 30 minutes if the storm holds off." Ivan nods, but his expression is grim. A girl, alone on the ice, in this weather, and narwhals? "This is madness, Captain." Dmitri doesn't respond. He's thinking of his own daughter, who's about Aputsiak's age, safe far away. He can't imagine her out there, alone, in the dark. "We'll get to her," he says finally, "and we'll save those whales." Back on the ice, Aputsiak huddles near the chasm, her body shivering, but her resolve unbroken. She sings softly, the ancient Inuit song her grandmother taught her, a melody meant to calm the spirits of the sea. The narwhals seem to hear it, their thrashing slowing, their dark eyes fixed on her. The mother narwhal lets out a low, mournful note, and Aputsiak feels a connection she can't explain, a shared understanding, a shared fear. Above, the aurora shifts, its colors forming surreal shapes, ghostly narwhals swimming through the sky, their tusks glowing like lanterns. Aputsiak's breath catches. She knows what this means. The spirits are here. They're watching. The sound of the even Papanine's engines rumbles in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. A Putsiak scrambles to her feet, waving her arms as the ship's lights pierce through the storm. The icebreaker slows, its massive hull grinding against the ice, and a gangway lowers with a creak. Dmitri and three of his crew, Ivan, a young engineer named Sasha, and a medic named Elena, descend, their boots crunching on the snow. Dmitri kneels in front of a Putsiak, his eyes softening. "You're the girl from the radio?" he asks, his Russian accent thick. A Putsiak nods, her voice steady despite her chattering teeth. "Yes, the narwhals, they're trapped. We have to help them." Dmitri follows her to the chasm, his crew behind him. When he sees the narwhals, his jaw tightens. "Bože moi," he mutters. My God, the situation is worse than he thought. The ice is cracking faster now, the whirlpool pulling harder. Elena, the medic, checks the narwhals with a flashlight. "They're injured," she says, her voice grim. "The nets are cutting into their skin, and the calf, it's exhausted. We don't have much time." A Putsiak looks at Dmitri, her eyes pleading. "We can save them, right?" Dmitri hesitates. He's seen too many rescues go wrong, too many lives lost to the Arctic's cruelty. But then he looks at a Putsiak, at the determination in her young face, and he nods. "We'll try, little one. We'll try." He turns to his crew. "Sasha, get the winch and the cutting tools. Ivan, set up a perimeter. We don't want the ice breaking under us. Elena, keep an eye on the whale's condition. Let's move." The storm intensifies, the wind howling like a chorus of ghosts. As the team sets to work, Sasha, the young engineer, rigs a winch system from the Ivan Papanin, lowering a heavy cable with a grappling hook to secure the ice around the chasm. Ivan marks a safe perimeter with glow sticks, their eerie green light casting shadows on the ice. Elena monitors the narwhals, her flashlight darting between them, her face pale. "The calf is slipping," she calls out. "It's too weak to fight the current." A Putsiak stands at the edge of the chasm, singing her song louder now, her voice trembling but clear. The narwhals respond, their cries softening, as if her song is giving them strength. Dmitri watches her, a mix of awe and concern in his eyes. "You're keeping them calm," he says. "That's good. We need them still if we're going to cut those nets." He hands her a pair of binoculars. "Keep watch. Tell us if anything changes." Dmitri and Ivan move carefully onto the ice, their tools in hand, industrial-grade cutters designed to slice through steel cables. The nets are thick, knotted with ice, and the narwhal's struggles have only made them tighter. Dmitri starts with the mother narwhal, her massive body thrashing as he approaches. "Easy, girl," he murmurs, his voice steady. He slices through the first rope, and the mother lets out a sharp whistle, her tusk glowing faintly under the aurora's light. A Putsiak gasps. "It's working," she cries. But the ice groans again, a deep guttural sound that sends a shiver down Dmitri's spine. A crack splits the ice beneath his feet, and he stumbles, catching himself just in time. Ivan grabs his arm, pulling him back. "Captain, we need to hurry," Ivan says, his voice tight. "This ice won't hold much longer." Dmitri nods, his jaw set. "Keep going. We're not leaving them." They move to the next narwhal, one of the adults, its tusk tangled so tightly in the net that it's bleeding, the crimson staining the black water. Elena calls out, "That one's in bad shape. If we don't free it soon, it'll lose too much blood." Dmitri works faster, his hands steady despite the cold, the cutter slicing through the ropes with a satisfying snap. The narwhal breaks free, swimming to the edge of the chasm, its tusk glinting like a spear. A Putsiak cheered, her voice echoing across the ice. "One down!" But the calf, the smallest of the pod, is still trapped, its small body caught in the whirlpool's pull. The mother narwhal swims in circles around it, her cries growing more desperate. A Putsiak watches through the binoculars, her heart pounding. "The calf! It's slipping!" she shouts. Elena confirms it, her voice urgent. It's going under. We need to get to it now. Dmitri looks at the ice, at the widening crack, and makes a decision. I'm going in, he says, grabbing a rope from Sasha. Ivan protests. Captain, that's suicide. The whirlpool will pull you under. But Dmitri shakes his head. I've lost too many to this ice. Not tonight. He ties the rope around his waist, handing the other end to Ivan. Pull me back if I go under. Dmitri lowers himself into the chasm, the icy water biting into his skin even through his thermal gear. The whirlpool tugs at him, its pull relentless, but he fights it, swimming toward the calf. The mother narwhal swims beside him, her tusk glowing brighter now, as if guiding him. Apuchiak sings louder, her voice rising above the storm, the ancient melody weaving through the wind. Above, the aurora shifts again, forming a surreal shape, a narwhal spirit, its tusk piercing the sky, its ghostly form shimmering with starlight. Dmitri reaches the calf, his hands trembling as he cuts the nets. The ropes are tight, cutting into the calf's skin, and its cries are weak, barely audible over the roar of the water. Hold on, little one, Dmitri mutters, his breath ragged. He slices through the last rope, and the calf breaks free, but it's too weak to swim. The whirlpool pulls it deeper, its small body disappearing beneath the surface. Apuchiak screams, No! Without thinking, she grabs her grandmother's knife and ties the rope around her own waist, handing the end to Sasha. I'm going after it, she says, her voice fierce. Sasha tries to stop her. You're just a kid! But Apuchiak's eyes burn with determination. I promise them, she says. Before anyone can stop her, she jumps into the chasm, the icy water swallowing her whole. The cold hits her like 1,000 knives, but Apuchiak doesn't hesitate. She swims down, following the faint glow of the calf's tusk. Her knife clutched in her hand. The whirlpool spins her, pulling her deeper, but she fights it, her small body stronger than it looks. She reaches the calf, its body limp but still alive, and cuts the last of the nets, freeing it completely. She wraps her arms around its small frame, kicking upward with all her strength, the rune-carved knife glowing faintly in the darkness. Above, Dmitri and the crew pull the rope, their muscles straining as they haul Apuchiak and the calf to the surface. The mother narwhal swims beside them, her tusk glowing like a beacon, guiding them to safety. Apuchiak breaks the surface, gasping for air, the calf cradled in her arms. Dmitri pulls her onto the ice, his face pale but relieved. You're a brave one, little girl, he says, his voice rough with emotion. Elena wraps Apuchiak in a blanket, checking the calf for injuries. It's weak, but it'll live, she says, her voice soft. The mother narwhal nuzzles her calf, her cries turning to a soft, grateful song. The other narwhals join in, their voices rising in a haunting melody that echoes across the ice, blending with Apuchiak's song. The aurora above glows brighter, its colors swirling into a surreal symphony of light and sound, as if the spirits of the Arctic are singing along. The storm begins to calm, the wind dying down to a soft whisper. As the team watches the narwhals swim free, the chasm collapses behind them, the ice sealing shut with a final, thunderous crack, as if the Arctic itself is closing the door on this chapter. The narwhals circle the ice one last time, their tusks glinting under the aurora, their song a melody of gratitude. Then, with a final splash, they dive beneath the surface, disappearing into the depths of the Arctic Ocean. Apuchiak sits on the ice, her body trembling, but her heart full. She looks at the aurora, at the ghostly narwhal shapes fading into the sky, and whispers, Thank you, grandmother. She knows Naya's spirit was with her tonight, guiding her through the song. Dmitri kneels beside her, his hand on her shoulder. You did good, little one, he says. You saved them. Apuchiak shakes her head. We saved them, she says, her voice soft but firm. The crew gathers their gear, their faces a mix of exhaustion and pride. Elena checks Apuchiak for hypothermia, her hands gentle. "You're a hero," she says, her voice warm. Sasha, usually quiet, speaks up. "I've never seen anything like that," he says, his eyes wide. "The way you sang, the way they listened, it was magic." Ivan grunts, but there's a smile on his face. Magic or not, we're alive, and so are they. Dmitri looks at the horizon, where the first light of dawn is beginning to break, a faint gold against the violet sky. "We should get you home," he says to Apuchak. "Your family will be worried." Apuchak nods, but she takes one last look at the fjord, at the spot where the narwhals disappeared. She knows she'll never forget this night, the night she heard the midnight whale song, the night she became more than just a girl from a small village. The Ivan Papanin docks at Quanok village, just as the sun begins to rise, its golden light reflecting off the ice. Apuchak's father, Kian, is waiting at the shore, his face a mix of relief and anger. He runs to her, pulling her into a tight hug, his voice breaking. "You foolish girl," he says, his hands trembling. "I thought I'd lost you." Apuchak hugs him back, her tears soaking into his coat. "I had to save them, Papa," she whispers. "I heard their song." Kian pulls back, looking into her eyes, and for the first time he believes her. He sees the strength in her, the same strength he saw in his mother. "Naya, you're just like her," he says, his voice soft. "She'd be proud of you." The villagers gather around, their faces a mix of awe and curiosity, as Dmitri and his crew step off the ship. Kian shakes Dmitri's hand, his gratitude clear. "Thank you for bringing her back," he says. Dmitri nods, his gruff exterior softening. "She's a brave one, your daughter. You should be proud." Word of the rescue spreads quickly through the village, and soon, the story reaches beyond Svalbard. Apuchiak's classmates, who once teased her, now look at her with respect. The village elders, who had dismissed her talk of spirits, begin to listen. They gather that evening in the community hall, a small wooden building warmed by a crackling fire, and ask Apuchak to sing the song she heard. She does, her voice clear and strong, the melody echoing through the room. The elders nod, their eyes misty. "The spirits spoke to you," one of them says. "You've honored our ancestors." Dmitri and his crew are hailed as heroes, their stories shared on social media by a journalist visiting Svalbard. The video, a grainy clip of the Ivan Papanin, docked at the village, with Apuchiak and the sailors recounting the rescue, spreads rapidly, capturing the attention of people around the world, who are moved by the tale of a young Inuit girl and a Russian icebreaker crew saving a narwhal family. The Arctic is changing, and the creatures who call it home are paying the price. Narwhals, with their dependence on sea ice, are among the most vulnerable. The ice that once stretched unbroken across the horizon is now fractured, riddled with chasms like the one that trapped the narwhals. And it's not just the narwhals. Polar bears are wandering hundreds of miles in search of food, as their hunting grounds vanish. Seals are losing their breeding grounds. The entire Arctic ecosystem is on the brink. Apuchiak's rescue shines a light on this crisis, but it also shows what's possible when people come together. Her connection to the narwhals, through the ancient songs of her people, reminds us that we're all part of this world, that the Arctic isn't just a frozen wasteland, but a living, breathing place, full of magic and mystery. The sailors of the Ivan Papanin, with their grit and determination, prove that even in the harshest conditions, humanity can make a difference. This story also highlights the importance of indigenous knowledge. Apuchiak's Inuit heritage, her songs, her connection to the spirits, played a crucial role in the rescue. For too long, indigenous voices have been ignored in the fight against climate change, but they hold wisdom the world desperately needs. Apuchiak's village, inspired by her courage, begins to advocate for stronger protections for the Arctic, working with scientists and activists to raise awareness. Apuchiak's life changes after that night. She's no longer just the quiet girl who hears spirits. She's a hero, a voice for her people, a bridge between the old ways and the new. Her father, Kian, begins to teach her more about their traditions, showing her how to carve runes into bone, how to read the stars, how to listen to the wind. He realizes he's been too hard on her, too focused on survival to see the magic in her. "You're the future of this village," he tells her one night, his voice soft. "Don't ever stop singing." At school, Apuchiak finds her voice. She starts a club with her classmates to learn more about the Arctic's wildlife, inviting elders to share their stories and scientists to share their research. She speaks at a community meeting, her voice steady as she tells the story of the narwhals, urging her village to fight for the ice. "The spirits spoke to me that night," she says, her eyes bright. "They told me we have to protect this place, for the narwhals, for the seals, for all of us." The villagers listen, their faces a mix of pride and determination. A Puchiak also keeps in touch with Dmitri and his crew, who return to Svalbard a few months later to check on her. Dmitri brings her a gift, a small narwhal carving made of wood, its tusk painted with the colors of the aurora. "To remind you of that night," he says, his gruff voice gentle. Apuchiak smiles, clutching the carving to her chest. "I'll never forget," she says, "and I'll never stop fighting." Her story inspires others, too. The journalist who shared the video launches a documentary project, interviewing Apuchak and the sailors, highlighting the beauty of the Arctic and the threats it faces. The documentary brings global attention to the plight of narwhals and the need for climate action, becoming a symbol of hope for many. Months later, Apuchak returns to the fjord where the rescue took place. The ice has changed, the chasm now a frozen scar, but the air still hums with the memory of that night. She sits on a rock, her grandmother's knife in her hand, and sings the song she sang to the narwhals. The aurora appears, its colors soft and gentle, and for a moment, she sees them, the ghostly narwhal spirits, their tusks glowing, their shapes dancing in the sky. She hears a sound in the distance, a faint whistle, a familiar melody. Her heart leaps. She scrambles to the edge of the ice, peering into the water, and there they are, the narwhal family. Their tusks glinting in the moonlight. The mother narwhal surfaces, her dark eyes meeting Apuchak's, and she lets out a single clear note, a note of recognition, of gratitude. The calf swims beside her, its small body stronger now, its tusk just beginning to grow. Apuchak smiles, tears streaming down her face as the narwhals sing back to her, their song blending with hers in a haunting harmony. She knows they'll never forget her, just as she'll never forget them. The song they share, the midnight whale song, becomes a legend in her village, a story told to children on stormy nights, a reminder of the night a young girl and a crew of sailors defied the ice to save a family of unicorns. Apuchiak's connection to the narwhals, through the ancient songs of her people, shows the deep bond between humans and the natural world. Her courage, diving into the icy whirlpool to save the calf, proves that even the smallest among us can do extraordinary things when we believe in something greater than ourselves. And her willingness to listen to the narwhals, to the spirits, to her own heart, teaches the importance of paying attention to the world around us. For Dmitri and his crew, the rescue is a reminder of why they brave the Arctic's dangers, not just for survival, but for moments like this, moments that make the cold worth enduring. Dmitri thinks of his daughter, of the world she'll inherit, and vows to do more to protect it. Elena, the medic, finds a new purpose, volunteering with wildlife rescue organizations. Sasha, the engineer, starts a blog about Arctic conservation, sharing the story with the world. Ivan, the gruff first mate, keeps a photo of the narwhals on his bunk, a quiet reminder of the night he helped save a life. For the narwhals, the rescue is a second chance, a chance to swim free, to raise their calf, to carry their song through the Arctic's depths. The Arctic isn't just a distant place, but a part of our world, a part of us, full of magic, mystery, and life. The story of the midnight whale song spreads like wildfire, capturing the hearts of people around the world. The journalist's documentary, Narwhal Song, A Rescue in the Arctic, premieres at a major film festival, streaming on platforms where it reaches millions. Aputsiak's story becomes a symbol of hope in the fight against climate change, inspiring countless others to take action. School children in Canada start a petition to ban fishing nets in Arctic waters, collecting signatures from around the globe. Activists in Europe use Aputsiak's story to push for stricter climate policies, citing the melting ice in Svalbard as a wake-up call. Wildlife organizations launch Save the Narwhal campaigns, raising funds to protect Arctic habitats. Even celebrities get involved, sharing the documentary, calling Aputsiak a true hero for our planet, and writing songs inspired by the midnight whale song, donating the proceeds to Arctic conservation. Aputsiak becomes a reluctant celebrity, traveling to speak at conferences and schools, her voice growing stronger with each speech. She tells the story of the narwhals, of the spirits, of the ice, urging people to listen to the world around them. The Arctic is alive, she says at a global summit, her voice echoing through the hall. It sings to us, if we listen. We have to protect it before the song stops. The audience rises to their feet, tears in their eyes, as the aurora seems to glow behind her on the screen, a surreal reminder of the night that changed everything. Years later, Aputsiak is 20 years old, studying marine biology at the University of Tromsø, the northernmost university in the world. She's still quiet, still a listener, but she's also a leader, a voice for the Arctic, for her people, for the creatures she loves. She returns to Svalbard every summer, working with scientists to track narwhal populations, using her songs to locate pods and study their behavior. Her research helps establish new protected areas in the Arctic, ensuring the narwhals have a safe place to thrive. One summer evening, she takes a boat out to the fjord, the same fjord where she rescued the narwhals all those years ago. The ice is thinner now, the water warmer, but the aurora still dances above, its colors as vibrant as ever. Aputsiak sings the midnight whale song, her voice stronger now, more confident, and then she hears it, a reply, faint at first, but growing louder. She leans over the edge of the boat, her heart racing, and sees them, a pod of narwhals, their tusks glowing under the water, their song echoing hers. Among them is a young narwhal, its tusk just beginning to spiral, a tusk she recognizes. It's the calf, now grown, swimming beside its mother. Aputsiak laughs through her tears, her voice joining theirs in a melody that stretches across the Arctic, a song of survival, of gratitude, of hope. She knows this isn't the end. The Arctic is still in danger, the fight far from over. But as long as she can sing, as long as the narwhals can answer, there's hope.